It's a test designed to provoke an emotional response. Shall we continue? It's a test designed to provoke an emotional response. Shall we continue?
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome on in, 4th hour. It's good to be back in the live stream, people. It's good to be back. It's been a long time, I feel like. Hopefully there's no problems with Google Classroom. I don't know if you guys experienced it in your 6th hour yesterday, but is everyone able to get on to Google Classroom this morning? We all good? You guys all able to get on? We got 13 people in the house right now. We'll wait for the stragglers. The stragglers to get on in. How's my people out there though? How you guys doing? Some of you guys are sleeping. Some of you guys got your phone, right? You're like, wake up! Wake up, you! Wake up! It's time to learn! It's time to learn some econ! Come on! Let's go! Come on! Yes, Gavin, he's doing good. Oh, hey, Gavin, how are we doing in the stock market game? Let's see. Let's pull it up here. Let's see. So, people, if you don't know how to get on MarketWatch, right? You just go to marketwatch.com and you click on games, all right? And you should see like the games pop up. Mr. Moore's doing all right. Gavin's still doing really well. Now, Gavin, did you sell some of your stocks? All right, so Gavin, you want to get this number? You want to sell like 6,000 of this, or else you're gonna have other students getting all upset. All right? You want to sell like 6,000 of that, and like 6,000 of this, and then you're straight, and then you're fairly in number one, right, in first place, all right? Because this should only be at 20,800, and this should be at 20,000 or 21,300, and then it's like, it's good, yeah. So I think today's the last day. Today's the last day to make sure you guys' brokerage accounts are all good to go, all right? Let's look at Gabe real quick, all right? So Gabe's is pretty good. I would just sell a couple shares of Apple. Actually, you only have one share of Apple. It's that expensive, I know it is. If you have one share of Apple, that's not a big deal. Oh, you just need to buy more stocks, my man. You just gotta buy more stocks, and you're fine. That all these numbers will go down if you just buy other stocks. But yeah. See how Michael's doing. Michael's doing pretty good. And again, buy more stocks. If you buy more stocks, this number will be good. It'll be fine. It'll go down. You gotta dilute your holdings, people. Okay. So all these accounts got to be good because tomorrow morning, we can't allow someone to be making money if they're not, if they're in violation, right? Violators of the 5 rules will be banned. Right, so I'll just go through and I'll kind of go like this, right? I'm just clicking on Luke, but like I'll just boom, remove players, okay? And then you're gonna have to make a burner account if you want to get back in. And remember, there's assignments with this too, right? So you don't want to get kicked out, obviously. But yeah, good job, people. Good job, good job. Announcements. I'm going to assign this real quick. Let me post this up here for you guys and walk through it. I got rid of Verizon stock and there I am out of 25th place. Oh, like you went better? Yeah. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. Hey, remember, don't sell your initial stocks though. Don't forget that though. Hopefully that wasn't one of your initial stocks. All right, so people, I posted this. There's a couple ways you can do this. But I want to make sure you guys have this, right? I want to make sure you guys have this note because on the exam, on the final exam, I'm probably going to allow you guys to have notes. Don't quote me now, but I'm probably going to allow you guys to have notes. You're going to want to have these notes. So you can either fill this in as I talk about it today, or you could simply do it after the lecture. It's up to you guys, right? But it is here, and you need to make sure you fill in all these. I tried to Swiss cheese it. I tried to give you guys some answers and make it like less for you, but you're gonna want to have all this filled out by the end of today, right? And then turn it in, obviously, at some point. So it's right in here, Google Classroom. Make sure you guys pull that up, and you can probably just 2-screen or like watch me on one and then fill it in the other one. Okay. Any other announcements do we have today? Any other announcements? Not really. Only about half of you guys turned in the assignment that we worked on yesterday, which is sad. It's sad. We're gonna give you guys the whole hour. Come on, I gave you the whole hour, right? So make sure you guys get that one in, okay? All right, your question of the day is this. Here's your question of the day. Your question of the day is, kaboom, right there. Boom, right there. It is, if you could shop for free at one store, which one would you choose? If you could shop for free at any store, what store would you want to choose? What says Gucci? Gavin says Apple. Supreme. You guys are going for like the expensive place, right? Man, you guys would just buy a bunch of Apple products or like Supreme products and flip it. I know you guys would. Alcera. Hot Topic. Best Buy. Apple. I think I would say IKEA. There's a lot of expensive things at IKEA. I just deck out the home and then sell my house. All furnished. A lot of you guys saying Apple. That's smart. You guys would just load up on Apple stuff. Target. There's a lot of things at Target. I mean... Mason, I don't even know how to say that. Balenciaga? Walmart? Nike? Caitlin's trying to get soccer attire. Prada? Man, dude, you saying Walmart? Man. Walmart. That's funny. Hey, I guess you get groceries and, like, things, right? Clothes, maybe? Alright? That's all you guys got for me? That's it? That's it. I would probably say IKEA. Yeah. There's a wide variety of stuff you can buy there for sure, Duke. For sure. The thing is, it's not free shipping. That's where you get you. That's where they get you. What you talking about? Best Buy? Erwin, you're always up to something. You know that? You're always up to something. All right. I think we're good to go, people. I think we're good to go. Yeah. We're good to go. All right, so yeah, people, make sure you fill in that note guide as we go along. Probably be the easiest thing to do. I'm gonna post the notes to this right afterwards as well, and it should not take the whole hour. We should have some time to chill out and hang and Google Meet. And I said Google Meet catch up, right? Because like a lot of us are just kind of behind a little bit, and we need to start getting assignments in before this weekend's deadline. Okay? I don't want to be getting assignments from you guys next Wednesday when I have 3 different classes, okay? So we need to catch up and try to get those in by the weekend. And Mr. Moore's pretty nice, right? You know, I understand, right? Just give me my missing assignments. That's all, okay? You can buy Apple products as well, and that's why I'm not going to Apple. Oh, at Walmart. I got you. All right, people. Let's get into it. Come on, let's get into it. Back to learning. Look at all you guys. Yeah. There's Hans. Alright. Don't look. Mr. Moore, you gotta turn the music off. I know. Alright. Hey, do you guys like my new music, though? I had to, like, search deep in the archives to find some non-copyright music that was cool, right? I think that music was kind of cool. Best Buy has a lot of high-end electrical equipment. Boom. Yeah, you guys are trying to buy things and then flip it. I know you guys are. I know you are. What's Prada? I don't know what Prada is, Connor. What's Prada? All right, people. Okay, so yesterday, you guys explored the economic goals, right? The 6 economic goals: economic security, economic freedom, economic efficiency, economic growth, etc., right? And at the end, right, I asked you guys to list the ones you prioritize the most, right, and then the 2 goals that you would not want to prioritize, right? You find least important. Now, only 10 of you guys, I think, turned it in, so I only have a couple stats, but I'll show you guys that here in a second. But the economic goals, right? Can we have all the economic goals, right? Can a country fulfill entirely all 6 economic goals? It'd be pretty tough. And why is that? Well, scarcity, right? Scarcity. Some of those goals are trade-offs, and we're going to see it today, right? If you want economic security, sometimes you have to give up economic freedom, right? If you want economic growth, sometimes you're going to have to give up economic stability, right? So whole point is, right, and, day one of this class is scarcity, right? We can't have it all, so we're going to be forced to make decisions, and the decision that we make is going to be the economic system that our country or society, implements, right, employs. And obviously, right, like we don't really get to decide that, right? It's kind of the country you're born into, unless you can, really, change the elected officials that people vote in. But so it says, what 3 economic questions do all economies answer? This is the first part of your reading guide, people, or your note guide. So if you live in any country, in any sort of economy, there's 3 questions. The 3 questions is, what are we going to make? Right? What is this country, what is this society going to make? I shouldn't say country, because it doesn't always have to be a country, people, but what is society going to produce? What are we going to make as our own country, right? Are we going to produce, capital goods, consumer goods? We're going to produce like medical equipment? Are we going to produce like McDonald's toys, things like that? What are we going to make in our country? How are we going to do it, right? How are we going to do it? How are we going to employ workers? How much are workers going to get paid? What are the labor practices that we're going to use, right? And then who gets it, right? After we produce these goods, who gets it? Who has access to it, all right? So, think about the U.S., right? We produce a wide variety of goods. When we get to macroeconomics, we're going to learn that the U.S. has the highest GDP still in the world. The U.S. produces the most goods and services of value in the entire world, right? So we kind of produce pretty much everything. How do we do it? Our labor practices are not the best, but they're okay, right? We definitely do not allow children to work, right? And at one point, children were able to work. We have minimum wage laws, albeit I would say they're pretty low, and in most places we don't even use minimum wage because it's below the equilibrium market wage. We have OSHA, right? We when you're working, we make sure that you're protected, right? Some of you guys working jobs right now, you're forced to wear gloves. You're forced to wear like a hard hat, etc. Right? You're entitled to know what chemicals and toxins you're working with. If you're mopping up a floor, you got to put a slippery sign out there, right? So no one falls on it, right? We have some labor practices that are there to protect workers, and then who gets it? Well, the number 3, I think the U.S. kind of struggles with it a little bit, right? Who gets it? Well, in the U.S., it's whoever can buy it, right? Who's going to get access to the goods is whoever can, most afford the goods. Some goods people can't really afford, right? It's not available to all people, right? Think about college tuition. It's not really available to all people. Healthcare is not really available to all people. Some pharmaceutical medications, right, are not available to all people. So forth and so on, right? So, right. So that's going to decide the economic system that the U.S. has. We're going to learn there's 4 economic systems. So the whole point is, however we answer these 3 economic questions decides the economic system that we're going to employ. So it says the ultimate question is, who answers these questions? Does the government answer these questions? Do people answer these questions? Is there a mix of both? Are these questions answered on tradition and custom? So however we answer these questions is based on our economic goals, right? So, in November, right, you guys, I don't know if you guys are old enough to vote, but hopefully people get out and vote, right, if they want to change how these 3 economic questions are answered, right, in order to fulfill our economic goals, right? So here's your economic goals you guys gave me. I just did the ones you guys prioritized the most, right? Most of the people in the class said they value economic security. They value economic security of those that turned it in. And what is economic security again, right? Economic security is you want to support the people who need it most, right? You want to support those, like below the poverty line, right? Those that need the most help, right? The safety nets, welfare and things of that nature, right? And, the U.S. isn't like the worst at it, right? The U.S. is pretty good. Some countries don't have any safety nets at all, right? But I definitely think economic security is something the U.S. can do better. And obviously it's something you guys value, right? Because most of you guys said that. The second thing you guys said was economic growth, right? We want to grow and make better goods each year. Now, in terms of economic growth, I would say the U.S. is pretty good. In terms of a developed country, the U.S. economic growth rate generally is a little bit higher than 2%. And for a developed country, anywhere between 1% to 3% is really, really good. So in general, our economic growth is pretty good, but we kind of have to sacrifice other things like economic security and things of that nature in order to have economic growth. And what's the third thing you guys said? Economic stability. Now, I would say the U.S. is one of the worst at economic stability, right? So you guys said security and stability, right? Those are two things that I would think the U.S. would have to get a lot better on. Economic growth, I think we're pretty good at. But economic stability, I mean, think about COVID, right? Our economy had one of the greatest downfalls since the Great Depression. Not the Great Recession in 2008, the Great Depression, right? In terms of, how quickly the stock market dropped off and how quickly people became unemployed simply due to a virus. Right, which is pretty crazy. So our economy is generally pretty stable. It's been pretty stable ever since John Maynard Keynes, right? And basically come up with the idea of fiscal and monetary policy and stabilize the economy when things are bad. But however, right, if you look at 2008, the housing crash, and you look at COVID, right? We have not been that stable, and other countries have, right? Because other countries have safety nets, right? Other countries have. When COVID hit, they had 30 days vacation days. Boom, you getting paid. Everyone can get paid. They're staying home. They weren't out, infecting other people or getting infected, and there wasn't huge, massive unemployment. They could pay their rents and etc. Right? A lot of countries have a lot of economic stability. But again, if you want to have economic stability, you're going to have to give up economic growth, right? If you want economic security, you might have to give up a little bit of economic freedom, right? So these are trade-offs, and there's things that we're going to have to pick. Yeah, people may bank on that, right? So yeah. Okay, anyway, moving on here. Moving on. All right, so let's talk about those four economic systems, right? If you live in any sort of country, what are the four economic systems that you might experience, right? Well, the first economic system is called a traditional economy. It's called a traditional economy. It's an economy based on tradition, an economy based on custom. So it says decisions about consumption and production are based on custom and tradition, right? So again, think about those three economic questions that are on the top of your note guide. What are we going to make? How are we going to do it? And who's going to get it? All those questions are decided based on custom. Who's turning missing assignments, right? What are we going to make? Well, what did we make, 200-300 years ago, right? What did my great grandparents make, right? Corn, right? Whatever, right? I'm producing corn. How do they do it? Well, I'm going to use the same methods that my grandparents used, or I'm going to use the same tools my grandparents used, right? And then who gets it, right? It's who got it back in the day, right? How did we allocate, the production of our goods, right? How did we consume the goods that we produce, right? Was it all equal? Was it like, the strongest person, right, gets it? Is the person who has the most money, etc., right? All three of these economic questions are based on custom. It's what we've done for thousands of years, right? So traditional economies, do we have any, right? Can you think of any countries that basically they decide the three economic questions based on custom and tradition? It's pretty rare, right? You're going to have to find, tribes and small islands and nomadic tribes and agriculturally based tribes, or I'm using the word tribes a lot, but like small communities where people are very resistant to change because they know what works, right? And they want to stick with what works, right? I forgot what this tribe is called, but basically they combat lions, right? Which is pretty sweet. Messiah? I think it's Messiah. No, I don't know. Maasai? I think it's Maasai. Not Messiah. Maasai? I don't know. But so what are the main goals, right? The goals that we talked about, right? You guys valued security, growth, and what was the other one? Stability, right? Well, if you live in a traditional economy, what are you trying to prioritize? Well, you guys wanted to prioritize, right? Economic security, right? Think about if you live in this tribe, right? Is there haves and have-nots, right? No, right? Everyone basically is equal. Everyone has equal access to, the food supply. Everyone has equal access to work, right? There is a lot of economic security. There's no, crazy inequality of like people, with mansions and then people like on the streets, right? Everyone's the same, right? Their economic security is pretty much maximized. Economic stability, right? Think about, is there going to be a recession? Is this tribe going to experience a recession, right? No, is life going to be good and all of a sudden like something happens in the economy and all of a sudden like, oh no, I'm out of work, right? No, right? Is there going to be any sort of inflation, right, where prices go up like crazy and like your savings is wiped out? No, right? Things are pretty stable. Now, obviously there's like a drought, or there's like, I don't know, there's like a lack of food supply, or there's like a disease, in terms of like the cattle, right? Obviously that would be, poor economic stability. But for the most part, these guys can control that, right? For the most part, right? There's no like central bank, there's no fiscal monetary policy, there's no anything, right? It's just them. So that's what they're going to prioritize the most. If you live in a traditional economy, economic security and economic stability. 2 of the 3 you guys actually said, which is kind of crazy. What are going to be some problems, right? Well, think about economic growth, right? Think about economic growth. Are you going to grow? Are you going to be able to produce better and more goods than you did in the previous year by using these methods, right? No, right? They're not going to invent the iPhone next year, right? There's not going to be some sort of new way that makes your life easier for the most part. You're using the same tools, the same equipment, the same method in order to answer those 3 economic questions. You're not going to experience growth, right? The standard of living should pretty much, be maintained. It shouldn't get better. And then think about economic efficiency. Are we using all of our resources to the best of our ability, right? That's what efficiency means in economics, right? The use of our resources, right? Probably not, right? We're not putting our people, their intellectual and their capabilities to the highest work, right? We're not allowing people to invent things and things of that nature. We're pretty much doing what has always been done. So, yeah. So if you live in a traditional economy, you're living in a traditional economy because you prioritize these goals at the expense of these goals. That's the general idea. So we're going to do an analogy every time, all right? So I need you guys to participate in the chat here. How is a typewriter like a traditional economy? How is a typewriter like a traditional economy? I want to get a few responses here, and then we'll move on to the second economic system. How is a typewriter like a traditional economy? What do you think, people? What do you think? I think it's the Maasai. I think it's the name of the tribe. Maasai. I don't know how to spell it, so I don't even know how to Google it. I remember watching a video. Gabe says it's outdated, right? I like that a lot. It's outdated, right? It used to work, and it still works. Is there better methods of doing it? Yes, but it works. And we don't want to sacrifice, security and stability, to work around a laptop. It works. We're gonna keep with it. You guys ever know like an older person? They do the same thing. You guys know Mr. Schramm? Mr. Schramm, I'm a good friend of Mr. Schramm. Old dude, right? I used to coach with him, and he basically would do the what used to work back in the '90s, and right, he would. I would have everything like virtual, all my drills so kids can see it, and he would just write it down, right, on pencil and paper, right, because it works, right, and we don't want to change it. Mistakes are costly with both a typewriter and the economy, right, so you can make a lot of mistakes, right. If you make a mistake, what happens, right, you got to delete everything. It was a really poop object that was at the time genius, but now is an antique. Okay, all right. People, does the typewriter need electricity? Does it need internet? No, right? It's pretty stable, right? People used to bring a typewriter, like in World War II, and they'd carry around a typewriter so they could, give off messages and send orders and etc., right? Nowadays, right, we have all the craziest technology in the world, and on the first day of school, my internet went out. So I couldn't use any of this. Right, my 3 monitor setup, my crazy PC that I got, my mic, my cameras, all that. Look at my camera's blurry right now, right? Economic stability is the idea, right? This is pretty stable. Is it the best? No, but it's stable, right? It works. Okay, moving on here. It's pretty inefficient, though, I'd definitely say. Oh no, I forgot to change my animation. So you guys see the problems early, but... So the next economic system is called a command economy. A command economy. Some people might live in a country that their economic system is more so command, right? What is a command economy? That is when government has complete control. Government answers those three economic questions. What are we going to make? How are we going to do it? And who's going to get it, right? Okay, when we talk about a command economy, people, we're kind of talking about theory, right? In the modern day, there is no real true economic system that is command. The closest example, I would argue, is North Korea. Right? Some people like to say like China and things like that. Absolutely not. China's very, very market. I think North Korea, the government out of any other country, answers those three economic questions the most. What are we going to make? How are we going to do it? And who's going to get it? The government controls a lot of things. And it's unfortunate. I really like showing you this video. I talked about it last week. It's done by Vice. And they basically sneak a camera into North Korea. And it's pretty crazy. It's not the cataracts thing that you guys saw in middle school. It's a different one. It's much better. But you'll notice that the government pretty much dictates what you do, right? When you can walk on the streets, what you can buy, when you can and cannot visit certain things, etc. Right? There's not a lot of other command economies. Share a link in the video. Yeah, Vice is cool though. Vice is a cool production. But anyway, so when I'm talking about this, I'm talking more so about theory because Soviet Union was close, right? But Soviet Union truly wasn't entirely command, right? They were pretty close, but again, there was issues with it. Did they really enact it to the best of their ability? No, I would argue not. But yeah, the government owns all factors of production. You guys know what the factors of production are: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So the government owns all the land, the intellectual property, right? If you invent a product in the Soviet Union, who gets profit off of that? The government, right? The government owns your invention. Okay, so think about some problems and some main goals. So, socialism and communism are common in modern command economies. Now, I shouldn't put socialism up there, right? Because socialism, for whatever reason, in the U.S. is like a really bad word in the U.S. It's really weird. Socialism just basically means a mix between free market and government, right? Where some resources are going to be shared, but other resources are going to be left up to freedom and economic choice, right? Communism would be more so command. But anyway, so what are going to be the main goals, right? If you live, I love Sun Yu. Sun Yu's really cool. I have her in second hour. But people, I hate when people incorrectly use the word socialism, and we do that a lot here in the U.S. Look at some political ads, right? But anyway, economic. So what are going to be the goals we're going to prioritize, right? Number one is economic equity, right? Economic equity. Now, I hope you guys know, equality and equity are different things. Equality means like everyone gets equal amounts, right? Like if I cut up a pizza, everyone gets like one slice of the pizza. Equity means that we're going to bring up people so they can have a seat at the table, right? So equity, like everyone has equal access to everything, right? And everything truly is equal, right? Think about if you live in a command economy, everyone's going to get the same amount of money no matter if you're like a doctor or a garbage man. You're going to get the same amount of access to resources, consumption, right? And income, right? So equity is maximized. Economic security, right? Is there going to be anyone below the poverty line? No, right? There should be, in a true command economy, if actually enacted properly, right, there would be no one below the poverty line, right? A command economy is supposed to be for the people, right? However, right, is there going to be any, wealthy people? No, right? Everyone's going to be just above that poverty line. So what are going to be some problems? Economic growth. Are we going to invent more products from year to year? No, right? Because there is no profit motive. There's no intellectual property. It goes to the government, right? Why would I invent a product in the Soviet Union if I can instead move to the U.S., invent that product in the U.S., and then have like crazy mansions in L.A., right? I'd much rather do that. Economic efficiency. Are we going to use all of our resources to the best of our ability? Well, kind of, right? We're going to use all of our labor, but again, right? When you're truly, right, if you were born in a command economy, your job would be given at birth, right? And you might be the smartest individual that's going to go on and be like a heart surgeon, but the government gave you a job of garbage collector, and I'm not like hating on garbage men, right? Actually, you make a lot of money as a garbage collector, but we're not going to truly be using all of our people for the best of their abilities. Everyone's going to be employed. We're going to be, max efficiency in terms of labor, producing at the curb, but we're not going to be that productive. And then obviously economic freedom, we're going to have to give up economic freedom. Why is that? Well, the government's going to decide what we're going to make and who's going to get it. So you're not going to have the freedom to buy what you want. So how is an Xbox like a command economy? How is an Xbox like a command economy? Sun Yu. How is an Xbox like a command economy? And people, I'm team PlayStation. You better believe it. PlayStation 5 comes out in a month, people. You better believe that. It's going to be a lot of money. And right now you can't even buy it. It's too scarce. The demand outweighs the supply. So there's a shortage. What should they do? They should raise the price. How is an Xbox like a command economy? Because you are running all the factors of the Xbox, right? So think about like you have the controller, right? You are the government, and you have your hands on the controller, and you dictate everything that's going to happen in the game. I like that a lot, Mason. That was a good one. I can't play Ghost of Tsushima, but I get Hollow Knight because... Erwin, what's going on over here? What's going on, right? What's going on? I mean, Mason kind of said it best, right? The government controls what happens in the economy, right? So the government controls everything that goes on, right? There's no economic freedom, but all the other goals are going to be maximized. Team Xbox, nah, man, get that out of here. Anyone else got any good ones? I'm gonna move on, but if you got any good ones, put in the chat. All right. I don't want to lecture the entire hour here. All right. The next one obviously is the opposite of a command economy, right? The opposite of a command economy. Command economy, the government answers all three of those economic questions. A market economy, people and businesses would answer all three of those economic questions. What are we going to make? Well, what's profitable? And what do people want, right? How are we going to do it? What's the most efficient way that we can make the most goods at the lowest price, right? And then who's going to have access to it? Well, who has the most money, right? Who has the highest ability to pay, obviously, right? So decisions, the three economic questions are left up to the individual producers and consumers. Everything is guided by people's self-interest. The invisible hand, we'll talk more about that when we talk about supply and demand. But the idea would be markets regulate themselves, right? If for example, if a product was poor, right, and no one wants to buy it, what happens? Well, the business goes out of business, right? And they're going to be forced to create a better product. If the product is good, right, and people want to buy it, that business will make more of it and probably improve the product, right, so they can make more money. So, price and quantity is going to be the most efficient in the marketplace, and again, it's going to be guided by the invisible hand. So, what are some main goals, right? Economic efficiency is going to be completely maximized, right? We're going to use all of our resources and employ our resources to the best of our ability. Economic freedom obviously is going to be maximized, right? If you want to buy something and you have the means to buy it, you can get it, right? And if it is a true market economy, it could be things that are very bad, right? It could be like, crazy automatic weapons. It could be like bombs, right? It could be, food that is very, very harmful for you, right? Drugs, things of that nature, right? Complete economic freedom. Everything's unregulated. If a business has the ability to serve you toilet water at a lower price, and they don't have to tell you that they're giving you toilet water, you're drinking toilet water, right? Is the idea, right? So obviously there's some problems with, economic freedom, right? Other problems is economic security. Obviously it's the biggest dog is going to be the one that dominates, right? There's going to be massive inequality. It's dog eat dog world, right? In terms of a market economy, economic equity, right? Obviously there's going to be very people are going to be unequal, right? Again, there's going to be haves and have-nots. Who can climb up the ladder, and obviously, right, in a market economy, some people are born into wealth, and they have a much higher probability of being successful than those that are born into poverty, right? There's not a lot of equity going on in a market economy. Economic stability, obviously, is a huge problem, right? It's obviously a huge problem in the U.S. It can take we can have a downturn in the economy just because of consumer pessimism, pessimistic, right? We can be pessimistic about, whatever going on, right? And people stop buying things, they start saving money, and lack of revenue creates more unemployment, lack of revenue, vicious cycle downwards, right? It's all consumer optimism, and so no Team PS4, yeah. So yeah, look at the cartoon. We carry what you want. So many choices, so little money. Wow, what a selection, right? But again, in a true market economy, people, does there have to be labels on here? Do they even have to tell you what you're eating? Do they have to tell you how much sugar's in there? Do they have to get it approved by the FDA, right? Do they have to use like things that are tested, that are not going to be harmful for you, right? In a true market economy, there is no rules at all, right? So people, what we're going to talk about tomorrow is the role of government, right? The role of government in the U.S. Government has to play what role at the minimum in the U.S., right? So a lot of people tout a market economy, but there's obviously just as many flaws with the market economy than there is a command economy. And people, like I said, command economy is kind of theory. Market economy is theory as well, right? And the reason is you can't have a market economy without government, right? Because if there is no government, right, what's eventually going to happen is you're going to have monopolies. Again, the bigger dog's going to eat, right? Amazon would basically produce everything in the U.S., which kind of do. But, the whole idea and why the market economy works is there's competition. That's the fundamental, premise of a market economy is there's competition. And since there's competition, we're going to have so many goods because everyone's competing to produce the better good. And since they're competing with one another, prices should be relatively low. Well, over time, right, if unchecked, a company's going to buy out another company. Another company's going to buy out another company. It's called mergers, right? And eventually there's going to be 4 companies. And eventually there's going to be 3 companies. And 2 companies and 1 company, right? Like say Amazon, right? If Amazon produces all the goods that we're all going to consume, it's basically the same as government, right? If a market economy is unchecked, it basically turns into a command economy is the idea. So you're going to see we want to mix a both. All right. How is a buffet like a market economy? How is a buffet like a market economy? This one's easy, but you can get creative with this one, people. How is a buffet like a market economy? Yeah, I'll give you some stats in your PS4 Xbox debate. Which system has more users? The PS4, and it's not even close. They call Xbox the dead box, right? You can choose what you want with a large selection. Yeah, in theory, a market economy, you'd have the most variety of goods, and you have total economic freedom on what you want to choose, right? And in theory, right, everything should be the lowest prices because of competition. First come, first serve, right? If you're in the front of the line, that's a very good one. That's a very good one, Emma, right? If you're in the front of the line, you eat all this, right? And the next person in line, are they going to have access to it? No, right? So there's not going to be a lot of equity. It's first come, first serve. Very, very good. Those are 2 really good ones. What about this? Right, I'll do one for you guys. What about if, these noodles right here, no one eats it? No one eats these noodles, right? They open up at 9 a.m. and they close at 9 p.m. And the whole day, no one ate these noodles. What's going to happen the next day? What's going to happen the next day if they don't eat these noodles? No one does. There's no demand for it. And alternatively, right, what if constantly throughout the whole day, this item just keeps getting eaten all day? All day it gets eaten, right? So what's going to happen is they're not going to make this anymore if no one eats it. And if everyone's eating this, they're probably going to have 3 trays of that the next day, right? It's going to be very, very efficient. If people want it, it's going to be produced. If people don't want it, it's not going to be produced. Very, very, very efficient. But again, at an expense of economic security, equity, etc. There's a huge selection. In addition, people constantly compete to see who can get the most of their buffet by lowering the price. Yeah. Very, very good. Very, very good. In order to get you to come to the buffet, they got to be the best buffet in town at the lowest price and the best selection of the best food, right? Is the idea. All right, so we're going to end right here. It's going to say the essential question of the day is this, right? We've explored 3 economic systems so far. What is the economic system in the U.S., right? Well, how is the U.S. like a market economy? How is the U.S. like a market economy? Put it in the chat. I'll talk about some examples while you guys are doing that. Try to hit some examples I don't talk about. So the market economy in the U.S. basically is, right, if I want to invent a product, right, if I want to invent like a new mug, I generally can just do it, right? I can invent a new mug, and if people want to buy it, they buy it, and I get paid for it, right? And, government doesn't have to tell me what to produce. I can produce it if I think I can make profit on it. The U.S. economy is very, very market-based. Again, a lot of our industries are first come, first serve, right? Who has the best access to healthcare? Those that have the best healthcare, right? Those that work, the most professional jobs, right? Who has access to universities, right? To colleges, right? Well, who has the highest willingness to pay, for the most part, right? Now, sometimes you can get good scholarships. For the most part, you can attend a high-priced university because you have a lot of money, right? Sort of thing, right? The U.S. is very, very market-based in a lot of different ways, right? Who gets it? Who can pay for it, right? But our U.S. is also very much like a command economy, right? Our government's going to be involved in a lot of different things, right? Our school is government, right? Government ran school. They're going to choose the education that you guys are going to get. Our roads are provided by the government. Like I said, every food that you guys consume has to be inspected by the FDA, and there's regulations that must be followed, right? If you eat any sort of food that has to have the nutrition facts on it, it has to say what are the ingredients, just in case people have allergies. If it has to have expiration dates. Think about people. There was a time in our country where there was no labels. There was no expiration dates. And you didn't. They didn't have to tell you what was in the food. That's pretty insane, right? Food has to be refrigerated, right? There's labor laws, right? You have to have a bare minimum wage, right? People, don't work for like $1 an hour. You have to get breaks, right, when you work. Most employers have to offer some sort of like healthcare benefits if you work X amount of hours, right? There's a lot of things that are command, and there's a lot of things that are market. So the whole point is, the U.S. is a mixed economy, right? So we're on that last column on your note guide. The U.S. is a mixed economic system. People, it says just about every country is a mixed economic system. That's the bottom part of your note guide. Which economic system is the most common today? It's mixed. There is no market economies. There is no command economies. It's a spectrum, and every country is somewhere on the spectrum, right? I know Hong Kong's not a country, but it's like it's a society, right? In China, right? Very, very free market, right? Australia is very, very, very free market. Then I would say the U.S. I would say the U.K. is a little bit. I don't know. Yeah, maybe a little bit more command, right? Germany, France, right? And then obviously on the other end of the spectrum, North Korea, right? The former Soviet Union, Cuba, and I think Cuba is becoming a little bit more market. So basically, the whole point is every country is somewhere on the economic spectrum here, somewhere. And there's your analogy, right? Salad dressing. How is that like a mixed economic system? How is this salad dressing like a mixed economic system? Well, do you want just like the oil? No. Do you want like just the seasoning part of it? No. You got to shake it up, and you need both, right? You don't want to live in just a command economy. There's going to be lack of incentive to invent products. There's going to be a lack of economic growth. The standard of living won't get better year to year, right? If you look at Cuba, if you were to go to Cuba, I think we can go to Cuba now, right? If you were to go to Cuba, the cars that are in Cuba are basically the cars that were produced like in the 60s, right? Things have not changed much, and we want some change, right? We want our standard of living to increase, right? So, there's bad things about a command economy, but there's also a lot of bad things about a market economy, right? Do you want to live in a country where there's power lines going everywhere, right? There's some countries where like there's no rules. There's no rules on the road. I think in India, there's really no traffic laws for the most part, right? I want traffic laws. I want some sort of order, right? In that regard, right? I don't want traffic power lines going like through people's windows and stuff, right? I don't want, in Egypt, I had a student that was from Egypt last year, and they said, Mr. Moore, like, you can pretty much litter in Egypt and it's not a big deal. You can take a McDonald's bag, throw out your window, and it's fine, right? I don't like that. I would want laws to be like, hey, you can't litter, you can't pollute in water because I want to swim in it, etc., right? Because, like, I don't want that. I don't want pollution. I don't think a business should have like uncapped, ability to pollute the atmosphere, right? I believe in climate change, right? I think there should be rules that the government has to enforce, but also there should be, areas of our economy that are very free market as well, right? Obviously, we want a blend of both. We want a mixed economic system. So I hope you guys took that today, right? Because in a lot of debates, right, it's kind of, people are like, you're for only government, right? Or you're only for free market, right? The solution is both. And again, can a market economy happen without government? No, it can't, right? Because monopolies will occur, and you're going to have one choice and one provider, right? Basically, the government sets the rules for the free market to operate. That's how I want you guys to think about it. We're going to talk about more about that tomorrow, right? A good government, right, sets the rules that the free market can operate in, is the idea. Because we want both, okay? All right. I think we'll do this tomorrow as like a little bit review, okay? All right, people. You can have your break if you want it. I'm gonna hop in Google Meet right away. I can answer questions on things you didn't get to on your note guide, and then obviously, you're gonna have 14 minutes to, try to work on any other sort of missing assignment that you might have at the current moment, okay? All right, people. I will see you guys in